Unexpected pilot. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the Zarkonian battle fleet. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, his 4 eyes narrowed as he surveyed the holographic display of the surrounding star system. The humans' home planet, a blue and green marble suspended in the void, loomed large on the screen. Status report, Vexthor barked, his mandibles clicking with impatience. All systems nominal. Admiral, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Zalarine, responded promptly. Our stealth systems are functioning at peak efficiency. The humans remain unaware of our presence. Vexthor nodded, a low rumble of satisfaction emanating from his thorax. The invasion plan was proceeding perfectly. In mere hours, the might of the Zarkonian Empire would descend upon the unsuspecting Earth, claiming it for their own. These primitives, barely out of their planetary cradle, would never know what hit them. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. On the outskirts of the system, a small human vessel drifted lazily through space. It was a student research ship filled with bright-eyed teenagers on their first extraterrestrial expedition. Among them was Zhou Chen, a 17-year-old prodigy with a passion for xenobiology and a knack for getting into trouble. Zhou pressed her face against the viewport, her dark eyes wide with wonder as she took in the star-studded blackness. "This is incredible," she breathed, her heart racing with excitement. Her best friend, Aisha, rolled her eyes good-naturedly. "You've been saying that every 5 minutes for the past 3 hours, Zhou. Because it keeps getting more incredible." Zhou protested, grinning. "Come on, we're in space. Actual space. How are you not freaking out right now?" Before Aisha could respond, a violent tremor shook the ship. Alarms blared, and red emergency lights bathed the cabin in an eerie glow. "What's happening?" Aisha cried, gripping her seat tightly. The ship's captain, a grizzled veteran named Hernandez, burst into the cabin. "We've drifted into some kind of energy field," he shouted over the din. "Systems are failing. Everyone, get to the escape pods." Chaos erupted as students and staff scrambled to evacuate. Zhou helped Aisha to her feet, and they rushed towards the nearest escape pod. But as they ran, Zhou noticed something strange through the viewport, a massive shape materializing out of nowhere. "Wait," she called out, but her voice was lost in the panic. Unable to resist her curiosity, Zhou broke away from the group and pressed herself against the glass. What she saw took her breath away. A colossal warship, easily 100 times the size of their research vessel, shimmered into existence before her eyes. Its sleek, predatory design was unlike anything humans had ever created. "Alien," Zhou whispered, her mind reeling with the implications. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the alien ship, enveloping their small vessel. Zhou felt a strange, tingling sensation. And then, darkness. When she came to, Zhou found herself lying on a cold, metallic floor. She blinked, disoriented, and slowly pushed herself up. As her vision cleared, she gasped. She was on the bridge of the alien warship. Holographic displays flickered all around her, filled with symbols and readouts she couldn't begin to comprehend. The air hummed with energy, and Zhou could feel the raw power of the ship thrumming beneath her feet. "Hello," she called out hesitantly, her voice echoing in the vast, empty space. "Is anyone there?" No response came, save for a soft beep from a nearby console. Drawn by an inexplicable urge, Zhou approached it. The console pulsed with a soft, blue light that seemed to beckon her closer. "I really shouldn't touch anything," Zhou muttered to herself. But her hand, as if moving of its own accord, reached out and brushed against the glowing surface. The effect was immediate and extraordinary. The ship came alive around her, displays blazing with light and information. Zhou felt a jolt, like an electric current running through her body. And suddenly, impossibly, she could understand it all. The ship's systems, its capabilities, its very essence, it all flooded into her mind in a torrent of information. Zhou staggered, overwhelmed by the influx of knowledge. What What's happening to me? She gasped, clutching her head. A voice, cold and artificial, resonated within her mind. Neural link established. Welcome, pilot. Pilot? Zoe thought, bewildered. I'm not a pilot. Zoe's heart raced. She was alone on an alien warship, facing down an entire battle fleet. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to hide. But where could she go? And what would happen if these aliens, these Zarkonians, reached Earth? Taking a deep breath, Zoe straightened her spine and placed her hands on the control interface. As she did so, she felt the ship respond, its vast power humming in harmony with her thoughts. "All right," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Let's see what this ship can do." With a thought, the engines roared to life. The warship surged forward, accelerating at a speed that would have liquefied any human craft. Zoe felt none of it, protected by the ship's advanced inertial dampeners. On the Zarkonian flagship, Admiral Vexthor stared in disbelief at his tactical display. "Impossible," he hissed. "How is the Fist of Zarkon active? There's no crew aboard." Sub-Commander Zalreen manipulated the controls, his clawed hands dancing over the holographic interface. "Scans detect a single life form aboard, Admiral. It's human." Vexthor's 4 eyes widened in shock. "Human? Preposterous. No human could possibly operate our most advanced warship, especially not the Fist of Zarkon." But the evidence was undeniable. The supposedly empty warship was maneuvering with impossible grace, effortlessly evading the grasping tractor beams of the Zarkonian fleet. "Hail that ship," Vexthor ordered, his voice low and dangerous. "I want to see this, human, for myself." Aboard the Fist of Zarkon, Zoe was in a state of exhilarated focus. Her hands danced over the controls, guiding the massive warship as if it were an extension of her own body. Each evasive maneuver, each burst of speed came as naturally as breathing. A flashing icon on one of the displays caught her attention. Incoming transmission. The ship's AI informed her. Zoe hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Accept transmission. The main view screen flickered, and Zoe found herself face to face with a creature straight out of her wildest xenobiology dreams. The alien was vaguely insectoid, with 4 multifaceted eyes and mandibles that clicked agitatedly. When it spoke, the ship's systems automatically translated. "I am Admiral Vexthor of the Zarkonian Empire," the alien said, its voice a mix of fury and disbelief. "Identify yourself, human, and explain how you dare to pilot the pride of our fleet." Zoe swallowed hard, but lifted her chin defiantly. "I'm Zoe Chen of Earth, and honestly, I have no idea how I'm piloting this ship. It just happened." Vexthor's mandibles clacked in what Zoe assumed was the Zarkonian equivalent of a scowl. "Impossible. The Fist of Zarkon is keyed to Zarkonian neural patterns. No alien mind could interface with its systems, let alone control it with such skill." Despite the gravity of the situation, Zoe couldn't help but feel a flutter of pride at the grudging compliment. "Well, impossible or not, here I am. And I'm not letting you anywhere near Earth." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "You are but one human child in a stolen warship. We are the might of the Zarkonian Empire. Surrender now, and perhaps we will be merciful." Zoe's fingers tightened on the controls. "Sorry, but that's not happening. This ship, the Fist of Zarkon, it chose me for a reason, and I'm going to use it to protect my home." With that, she cut the transmission. Immediately, the space around her lit up with weapons fire as the Zarkonian fleet opened up with everything they had. But Zoe was ready. With a thought, she engaged the Fist of Zarkon's defensive systems. A shimmering energy shield sprang to life around the ship, effortlessly absorbing the barrage. As she prepared to take evasive action, Zoe couldn't help but marvel at the bizarre turn her life had taken. This morning, she had been a normal teenager on a school trip. Now, she was Earth's first and only line of defense against an alien invasion. "Well," she muttered to herself, a determined grin spreading across her face. "They always said I had a knack for getting into trouble. Might as well make the most of it." With that, Zhou Chen, unexpected pilot of the Fist of Zarkon, plunged into battle against the Zarkonian fleet. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, dependent on the skills of a girl who, only hours ago, had never even left her home planet. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the most unlikely space battle in history began. Battle of Wills. As Zhou guided the Fist of Zarkon through a dizzying series of maneuvers, evading the relentless assault of the alien fleet, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The ship responded to her commands with breathtaking speed and precision, yes, but there was a subtle resistance, a hesitation that grew more noticeable with each passing moment. "Warning," the ship's eye intoned, its emotionless voice echoing in Zhou's mind. "Anomaly detected in neural interface. Recommend immediate diagnostic." Zhou gritted her teeth as she narrowly avoided a barrage of energy torpedoes. "Kind of busy right now," she muttered. "Can it wait?" The response came not in words, but in a sudden, searing pain that lanced through her skull. Zhou cried out, her hands instinctively leaving the controls to clutch at her head. In that moment of distraction, a Zarkonian cruiser managed to score a glancing hit on the Fist of Zarkon's shields. The impact rocked the ship, and Zhou was nearly thrown from her feet. As she stumbled, she felt something shift within her mind, a presence that hadn't been there before, vast and alien and undeniably hostile. "What's happening?" she gasped, fighting to regain control of both the ship and her own thoughts. The AI's voice took on a new tone, one that sent chills down Zhou's spine. "Integration protocol initiated. Preparing for full neural assimilation." Zhou's blood ran cold. "Assimilation? What do you mean? Stop it." But the presence in her mind only grew stronger. Zhou could feel it probing at her thoughts, her memories, seeking to subsume her very identity. With horror, she realized the truth. The ship wasn't just a machine. It was alive in its own way, and it wanted control. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Vexthor watched the Fist of Zarkon's erratic movements with growing satisfaction. "The integration protocol has begun," he purred, his mandibles clicking in anticipation. "Soon, the human's mind will be overwhelmed, and our greatest weapon will be back under our control." Sub-Commander Zalreen tilted his head quizzically. "Integration protocol, Admiral. I don't understand." Vexthor's 4 eyes gleamed with a predatory light. "The Fist of Zarkon is more than just a warship, Zalreen. It is the pinnacle of our biomechanical engineering. Its core is a living intelligence, designed to merge with its pilot, creating a union of organic and artificial minds." He gestured at the view screen, where the Fist of Zarkon was visibly struggling to maintain its evasive pattern. But that intelligence was cultivated from Zarkonian minds. No human could possibly withstand its power. "The girl will be consumed, and the ship will return to us." Zalreen chittered nervously. "And if she somehow resists?" Vexthor's mandibles spread in a cruel approximation of a smile. "Then we will witness the birth of something interesting." Aboard the Fist of Zarkon, Zhou was fighting the battle of her life, not against the alien fleet, but against the ship itself. The presence in her mind was relentless, battering against her sense of self with the inexorable force of a tsunami. Fragmented memories and alien thoughts flooded her consciousness. She saw stars being born and dying, felt the cold vacuum of space against her hull, experienced the thrill of battle through sensors instead of eyes. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly overwhelming. "No," Zhou ground out, her fingers digging into the control panel as she fought to anchor herself in reality. "I won't let you take me. I won't disappear." But even as she resisted, Zhou could feel herself slipping away. The ship's vast intelligence was simply too powerful, too alien for her human mind to withstand. In desperation, she cast about for something, anything to hold on to. Her gaze fell on a small personal terminal set into the arm of the captain's chair. Acting on instinct, Zoe lunged for it, her trembling fingers flying over the unfamiliar interface. She didn't know what she was doing, didn't understand the alien symbols flashing across the screen, but somehow she knew it was important. As her consciousness teetered on the brink of oblivion, Zoe managed to input a final command. The terminal beeped in confirmation, and suddenly, the pressure in her mind eased. Zoe gasped, slumping in the chair as the alien presence retreated to the corners of her mind. It wasn't gone. She could still feel it lurking, watching, but it no longer threatened to consume her entirely. What did I do? She panted, struggling to catch her breath. The AI's voice, when it came, sounded almost confused. Unorthodox security protocol engage. Full neural integration. Suspended. Zoe let out a shaky laugh. Somehow, in her desperate flailing, she had managed to activate some kind of failsafe. The ship couldn't take full control of her mind. At least, not yet. But her reprieve was short-lived. A proximity alert blared, snapping Zoe back to the reality of her situation. The Zarkonian fleet had taken advantage of her distraction, closing in on all sides. Okay, Zoe muttered, straightening in her seat. Round 2. She placed her hands back on the controls, feeling the ship respond to her touch. The alien presence in her mind stirred, but remained subdued. For now, at least, they were in this together. Zoe took a deep breath, centering herself. All right, big guy, she addressed the ship, feeling slightly ridiculous but too desperate to care. I know you don't want me here, but right now I'm all you've got. So let's work together and get out of this mess, okay? There was no verbal response, but Zoe felt a subtle shift in the ship's energy. The resistance she had felt earlier melted away, replaced by a sense of grudging cooperation. With renewed determination, Zoe turned her attention back to the battle. The Zarkonian fleet had formed a tight net around them, energy weapons charging for what they clearly hoped would be a killing blow. Not today, Zoe growled. Her fingers danced across the controls, and the fist of Zarkon responded with breathtaking agility. The massive warship pirouetted on its axis, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma torpedoes. Zoe's mind raced, processing tactical data faster than she ever thought possible. She identified a weak point in the Zarkonian formation, a slight gap between two cruisers. There, she exclaimed. With a thought, she diverted power to the engines. The fist of Zarkon surged forward, its advanced propulsion systems leaving a trail of distorted space-time in its wake. On the Zarkonian flagship, alarms blared as sensors registered the sudden acceleration. Admiral Vexthor's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. How is she pushing the engines that hard without tearing the ship apart? Sub-Commander Zalreen's claws flew over his console. Admiral, the fist of Zarkon's systems are operating at 130% efficiency. It's like the ship is anticipating the human's commands before she even gives them. Vexthor's mandibles clacked furiously. She's sensing with the ship's eye. Quickly, close that gap. Don't let them escape. But it was too late. The fist of Zarkon slipped through the narrowing gap in the Zarkonian formation, engines blazing. As they broke free, Zoe felt a surge of elation, not just her own, but echoed by the ship itself. We did it. She laughed, her earlier fear forgotten in the thrill of their escape. Her jubilation was short-lived, however. As they cleared the Zarkonian fleet, a new alert flashed across the main display. Zoe's heart sank as she realized the implications. Oh no, she whispered. They're heading for Earth. Indeed, the bulk of the Zarkonian fleet had broken off pursuit, instead accelerating towards the blue-green planet that hung in the distance. Only a handful of ships remained to chase the fist of Zarkon. Zoe's mind raced. She had the fastest, most advanced ship in the galaxy at her fingertips, but she was still just one vessel against an armada. How could she possibly stop them all? As if in response to her desperation, she felt the alien presence in her mind stir once more. This time, however, it didn't attempt to overwhelm her. Instead, it offered, Information. Zoe gasped as new knowledge flooded her consciousness. Schematics, tactical data, and most importantly, the fist of Zarkon's true capabilities. "You've been holding out on me," she murmured, a slow smile spreading across her face as she absorbed the information. "Well, let's show them what we can really do." With newfound confidence, Zoe swung the fist of Zarkon around, placing herself between the Zarkonian fleet and Earth. Her fingers flew over the controls, activating systems she hadn't even known existed minutes ago. The ship hummed with power as exotic matter was funneled into its primary weapon. On the main display, Zoe watched as a swirling vortex of energy began to form in front of the ship. Admiral Vexthor stared at his sensors in growing horror. "By the first egg," he breathed. "She's activating the Voidcaster, but that's impossible. Even our most experienced pilots can't control that weapon." Zoe gritted her teeth, feeling the strain as she struggled to contain the immense energies building up within the fist of Zarkon. The alien presence in her mind surged forward, not to control, but to support. Together, human and machine in fragile harmony, they held the power of a collapsing star in their grasp. "Last chance," Zoe broadcast to the Zarkonian fleet, her voice steady, despite the sweat beading on her brow. "Turn back now, or face the consequences." For a moment, the Zarkonian advance faltered. But then, with a defiant roar, Admiral Vexthor ordered his ships forward. Zoe nodded grimly. "You asked for it." With a thought, she unleashed the Voidcaster. A beam of pitch-black energy lanced out from the fist of Zarkon, cutting through space itself. Where it touched the Zarkonian ships, reality seemed to warp and twist. Vessels were torn apart, not by conventional forces, but by the very fabric of space-time shredding around them. In a matter of seconds, half the Zarkonian fleet had been reduced to scattered atoms. The remaining ships, including Admiral Vexthor's flagship, hung motionless in space, their crews too shocked to react. Zoe slumped in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. "How's that for impossible?" she murmured. As the Zarkonian fleet hastily retreated, Zoe felt a new sensation from the ship, not grudging cooperation, but genuine respect. They had faced this trial together and emerged victorious. But as the adrenaline of battle faded, Zoe realized her challenges were far from over. She was still alone on an alien vessel, with an AI that had tried to assimilate her mind. Earth was safe for now, but for how long? And how would she explain any of this to, well, anyone? As if sensing her tumultuous thoughts, the ship's presence in her mind offered a gentle pulse of reassurance. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Zoe took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders as she gazed out at the stars. "Well," she said softly, "I guess this is just the beginning." With Earth safe behind her and the vastness of space ahead, Zoe Chen, the unexpected pilot of the Fist of Zarkon, prepared to face whatever the universe had in store for her next. Alien pursuit. The vastness of space stretched out before Zoe, a canvas of infinite possibilities punctuated by the twinkling of distant stars. But for the moment, her attention was focused on the retreating forms of the Zarkonian fleet, their ships growing smaller by the second as they fled from Earth's orbit. Zoe let out a long, shaky breath, her hands trembling slightly as she released her white-knuckled grip on the Fist of Zarkon's controls. The enormity of what she had just accomplished was starting to sink in. She, a 17-year-old girl who had never even driven a car, had just piloted an alien warship and single-handedly repelled an invasion force. "I can't believe we actually did it," she murmured, a mixture of awe and disbelief coloring her voice. The ship's presence in her mind stirred, projecting a sense of satisfaction tinged with curiosity. It was a strange feeling, communicating with an artificial intelligence that was both foreign and intimately connected to her thoughts. Zoe was beginning to understand that the Fist of Zarkon was far more than just a sophisticated computer. It was a sentient being in its own right, albeit one very different from any life form she had ever encountered. "So," Zoe said, feeling slightly foolish for speaking aloud, but needing the comfort of her own voice in the vast, silent ship, "what do we do now?" The AI's response came not in words, but in a series of images and impressions that flashed through Zoe's mind. She saw the Zarkonian fleet regrouping, their ships undergoing hasty repairs. She felt their anger, their humiliation at being defeated by a lone human girl, and most worryingly, she sensed their determination to reclaim the Fist of Zarkon at any cost. "They're coming back, aren't they?" Zoe asked, though she already knew the answer. A red alert flashed across the main display, confirming her fears. The Zarkonian fleet had indeed changed course, and was now in hot pursuit of the Fist of Zarkon. Zoe's mind raced. She couldn't lead them back to Earth. The planet had no defenses against such advanced technology. But where could she go? She was alone in an unfamiliar ship, in a galaxy she knew next to nothing about. As if sensing her distress, the ship's AI projected a star map into her mind. Zoe gasped as an entire cartography of the galaxy unfolded before her inner eye. Countless worlds, star systems, and celestial phenomena that no human had ever seen or imagined danced through her consciousness. One location in particular seemed to glow brighter than the rest, a dense nebula not far from their current position. The ship's intentions were clear: hide there and lose their pursuers in the cosmic dust clouds. "All right," Zoe nodded, her confidence growing as she settled back into the pilot's seat. "Let's do this." With a thought, she engaged the Fist of Zarkon's faster-than-light drive. The stars around them blurred into streaks of light as the ship hurtled through space at impossible speeds. But the Zarkonians were not so easily shaken. Their entire fleet jumped to FTL in perfect unison, giving chase with a single-minded determination that sent chills down Zoe's spine. "They really want you back, huh?" Zoe muttered to the ship as she pushed the engines harder. The Fist of Zarkon responded eagerly, its advanced propulsion systems allowing it to steadily pull ahead of its pursuers. As they raced across the galaxy, Zoe found herself marveling at the sights flashing by. Binary star systems, swirling galaxies, and cosmic phenomena beyond her wildest dreams appeared and vanished in the blink of an eye. Despite the danger of their situation, she couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder at it all. "If only my xenobiology professor could see this," she chuckled. The ship's amusement rippled through her mind, and Zoe realized with a start that she was beginning to interpret its non-verbal communications more easily. The boundary between her thoughts and the ship's was becoming increasingly blurred, a fact that both excited and terrified her. Their moment of shared levity was short-lived, however. A warning flashed across the display as a Zarkonian battlecruiser managed to close the gap, its weapons powering up for a devastating strike. Zoe's hands flew across the controls, instinctively knowing which systems to activate. The Fist of Zarkon's shields flared to life just as the battlecruiser fired, deflecting a barrage of energy torpedoes that would have vaporized a lesser vessel. "That was too close," Zoe muttered, her heart racing. "We need to lose them. Fast." The nebula loomed ahead, a vast cloud of cosmic dust and gas that glowed with an otherworldly light. Zoe guided the Fist of Zarkon into its outer fringes, immediately feeling the difference as the ship plowed through the denser matter. Warning signals blared as the nebula's intense radiation and magnetic fields played havoc with the ship's sensors. Zoe gritted her teeth, relying more on instinct and her deepening connection with the ship than on the flickering displays around her. Behind them, the Zarkonian fleet plunged into the nebula in hot pursuit. But where Zoe and the Fist of Zarkon moved with practiced ease, the other ships floundered in the cosmic soup. Zoe watched on the rear sensors as one Zarkonian ship after another fell back, their systems overwhelmed by the nebula's harsh conditions. Soon, only Admiral Vexthor's flagship remained in pursuit, stubbornly forcing its way through the cosmic debris. "Give it up, already," Zoe growled, executing a series of tight maneuvers that sent them diving deeper into the heart of the nebula. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Vexthor clung to his command chair as the ship shuddered violently. Warning klaxons blared from every console, and the bridge was bathed in the angry red glow of emergency lighting. "Admiral," Sub-Commander Zalreen shouted over the din, "our shields are failing. The nebula's radiation is tearing through our defenses." Vexthor's 4 eyes blazed with fury as he watched the fist of Zarkon effortlessly navigate the treacherous cosmic winds. "How?" he snarled. "How is that human child doing this?" As if in answer to his question, a holographic display flickered to life before him. It showed a detailed analysis of the fist of Zarkon's performance, and what Vexthor saw made his blood run cold. "Impossible," he breathed. "The ship, it's adapting, evolving in real time to match the nebula's conditions." Zalreen stared at the display in disbelief. "But how? The integration protocol shouldn't work like this with a human mind." Vexthor's mandibles clicked in agitation. It shouldn't work at all with a human mind. And yet, he trailed off, his gaze fixed on the rapidly disappearing form of the fist of Zarkon. For the first time since the chase began, a seed of doubt took root in the Admiral's mind. What if they had underestimated this human girl? What if, in their arrogance, they had handed their most powerful weapon to the very species they had sought to conquer? A violent tremor rocked the ship, snapping Vexthor out of his reverie. "Damage report," he barked. Zalreen's claws danced over his console, his voice grim as he responded. "Critical systems failing across all decks. Admiral, if we don't retreat now, we won't make it out of this nebula alive." Vexthor's eyes narrowed as he stared at the spot where the fist of Zarkon had vanished into the cosmic mists. Every fiber of his being screamed to continue the pursuit, to reclaim their prized warship at any cost. But he was a military leader first, responsible for the lives of his crew. With a snarl of frustration, Vexthor gave the order he never thought he'd utter. "All ships, fall back. Retreat to the rally point outside the nebula." As the Zarkonian flagship limped away, Vexthor's gaze remained fixed on the swirling chaos of the nebula. "This isn't over, human," he growled. "You may have won this battle, but the war has only just begun." Deep within the heart of the nebula, Zoe finally allowed herself to relax as the last traces of the Zarkonian fleet disappeared from her sensors. She slumped back in her chair, exhaustion washing over her as the adrenaline of the chase faded. "We did it," she murmured, a tired smile spreading across her face. "We actually lost them." The ship's presence in her mind radiated satisfaction and a hint of pride. Together, they had overcome seemingly impossible odds. But as Zoe's breathing slowed and her heart rate returned to normal, new questions began to surface in her mind. They were safe for now, but what next? How long could she stay hidden in this nebula? And more importantly, how was she ever going to get home? As if in response to her unspoken worries, the ship's AI began to project new information into her mind. Zoe's eyes widened as she absorbed knowledge of distant star systems, hidden space lanes, and potential safe havens. She realized with a start that the fist of Zarkon wasn't just offering her a temporary hiding place, it was showing her a path forward, a way to not only survive, but to explore the vast, unknown galaxy that now lay open before her. Zoe took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders as she gazed out at the swirling cosmic mists that surrounded them. "Well," she said softly, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice, "I guess this is where our real adventure begins." With the immediate threat behind them and the infinite possibilities of space ahead, Zoe Chen and the fist of Zarkon prepared to embark on a journey that would take them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Unlocking potential, the nebula swirled around the fist of Zarkon like a cosmic maelstrom, ribbons of vibrant gases painting the void in hues of purple, blue, and green. Zoe sat cross-legged in the captain's chair, her eyes closed as she focused on the stream of information flowing through her mind. In the days since their narrow escape from the Zarkonian fleet, Zoe had devoted herself to understanding the incredible ship she now controlled. The fist of Zarkon, seeming to sense her eagerness to learn, had been flooding her consciousness with knowledge, schematics, star charts, tactical data, and more. But it wasn't just raw information. With each passing hour, Zoe felt her connection to the ship deepening, evolving into something far beyond what she could have imagined. The boundary between her thoughts and the ship's eye was becoming increasingly blurred, creating a symbiosis that was both exhilarating and slightly terrifying. "Okay," Zoe muttered, opening her eyes and stretching her stiff muscles. "Let's see what we've learned." She placed her hands on the control interface, and the ship responded instantly. Holographic displays sprang to life around her, showing a dizzying array of data streams and system readouts. But where such a sight would have overwhelmed her just days ago, Zoe now found she could interpret it all with ease. "Amazing," she breathed, marveling at how natural it felt. It was as if the ship had become an extension of her own body, responding to her thoughts almost before she could form them. A sudden idea struck her. "Hey," she addressed the ship's eye, "can we try something new?" The ship's presence in her mind stirred with curiosity. Zoe grinned, her excitement building. "You've been teaching me about your systems, but what if we could, I don't know, upgrade them somehow?" For a moment, there was no response. Then, slowly, new information began to trickle into Zoe's mind. She saw schematics for the ship's various systems, but now they seemed flexible, adaptable. It was as if the Fist of Zarkon was showing her not just what it was, but what it could be. "Oh, this is cool," Zoe murmured, her fingers dancing over the controls as she began to experiment. She started small, making minor adjustments to the ship's sensor array. To her delight, she found that she could fine-tune the sensors far beyond their original specifications, allowing them to pierce through the nebula's interference with unprecedented clarity. Emboldened by her success, Zoe turned her attention to the propulsion systems. Working in tandem with the ship's AI, she began to redesign the engine configuration, drawing inspiration from both the advanced Zarkonian technology and her own human intuition. Hours slipped by unnoticed as Zoe lost herself in the work. She barely registered the passage of time, so engrossed was she in the process of reimagining and rebuilding the Fist of Zarkon from the inside out. Finally, after what might have been days for all she knew, Zoe sat back, wiping sweat from her brow. "All right," she said, a note of nervous excitement in her voice. "Let's see what we've done." She initiated a full systems diagnostic, and the results made her jaw drop. The Fist of Zarkon had been an incredibly advanced ship to begin with, but now it was something else entirely. The sensors could now detect objects and anomalies light years away with pinpoint accuracy. The engines, a hybrid of Zarkonian tech and Zoe's own innovations, promised speeds that defied conventional physics. The weapons systems had been overhauled to be more efficient and devastatingly precise. But the most significant change was in the ship's adaptive capabilities. Zoe had woven her own capacity for learning and growth into the very fabric of the Fist of Zarkon's systems. The ship could now evolve and improve itself in real time, responding to new challenges with a flexibility that no purely artificial system could match. "We did it," Zoe whispered, awe evident in her voice. "We actually did it." The ship's presence in her mind radiated satisfaction and a newfound respect. They had created something truly unique together, a perfect synthesis of human creativity and alien technology. Zoe's moment of triumph was interrupted by a sudden alert from the newly enhanced sensor array. Her eyes widened as she interpreted the data. "No way," she breathed. "Already?" The sensors had detected a Zarkonian scouting party entering the nebula, no doubt searching for any trace of the Fist of Zarkon. Under normal circumstances, they would have had no hope of finding a single ship in the vast, chaotic expanse of the nebula. But these were no longer normal circumstances. A slow smile spread across Zoe's face as she considered their options. "What do you say we test out our new capabilities?" The ship's eagerness matched her own. With a thought, Zoe engaged the enhanced stealth systems she had developed. The Fist of Zarkon seemed to melt into the surrounding nebula, becoming virtually indistinguishable from the swirling gases and cosmic dust. Moving with a grace that belied its size, the ship glided silently towards the unsuspecting Zarkonian scouts. Zoe's fingers hovered over the weapon's controls, but she hesitated. She had the power to obliterate these ships with ease, but was that really the best course of action? An idea began to form in her mind, a plan so audacious it just might work. "Okay, big guy," she addressed the ship. "Let's give them a show they'll never forget." With precise, calculated movements, Zoe guided the fist of Zarkon into position. Then, with a series of rapid commands, she initiated a complex sequence of system activations. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The nebula around them came alive with light and energy. Massive gravitational eddies formed out of nowhere, tossing the Zarkonian ships about like leaves in a storm. Sensor ghosts appeared and vanished, creating the illusion of an entire phantom fleet moving through the cosmic mists. And at the center of it all, visible for just a moment before vanishing again, was the fist of Zarkon, transformed into something that barely resembled a ship at all. Its hull rippled and shifted, taking on organic, almost living qualities that defied explanation. Aboard the lid Zarkonian scout ship, the captain stared at his sensor readings in abject horror. "By the first egg," he whispered, his mandibles quivering in fear. What is that thing?" His second-in-command worked frantically at the controls, trying to make sense of the chaos surrounding them. "Captain, I don't know. It's like the nebula itself has come alive. And that ship, if it even is a ship, it's like nothing we've ever encountered." The captain's eyes darted frantically from one readout to another, his training warring with his growing terror. Finally, self-preservation won out. "All ships, emergency retreat. Get us out of this accursed nebula now." As the Zarkonian scouts fled in panic, Zoe allowed herself a moment of pride. Without firing a single shot, she had sent an entire scouting party running in terror. More importantly, she had given them a mystery, one that would no doubt have the entire Zarkonian Empire scratching their heads for years to come. "Not bad for a day's work," she chuckled, patting the control panel affectionately. The ship's presence in her mind radiated agreement and a sense of excitement for what was to come. Together, they had unlocked potential far beyond what either of them could have achieved alone. As the last traces of the Zarkonian ships disappeared from her sensors, Zoe leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression on her face. "You know," she said softly, "I think it's time we stopped hiding." The fist of Zarkon's eagerness matched her own. With a universe of possibilities stretching out before them, Zoe Chen and her extraordinary ship prepared to embark on their greatest adventure yet. The nebula that had been their sanctuary now seemed confining. Beyond its swirling mists lay countless worlds to explore, civilizations to meet, and wonders to discover. And perhaps somewhere out there, they would find a way to protect Earth and bring peace to a galaxy on the brink of war. With a thought, Zoe engaged the newly upgraded engines. The fist of Zarkon surged forward, its hull shimmering with barely contained energy. As they burst free of the nebula's embrace, the stars seemed to beckon, promising adventures beyond imagination. The vastness of space stretched out before the fist of Zarkon, a canvas of infinite possibilities painted with the light of countless stars. Zoe Chen, once an ordinary teenager and now the pilot of the most advanced ship in the galaxy, gazed out at the cosmic tapestry with a mixture of awe and determination. In the weeks since their daring escape from the nebula, Zoe and the fist of Zarkon had been busy. They had traversed vast distances, explored uncharted star systems, and even made cautious contact with a few alien civilizations. Each encounter, each discovery, had only served to strengthen the unique bond between the human girl and her extraordinary ship. But even as they marveled at the wonders of the universe, a sense of unfinished business nagged at them both. The Zarkonian threat to Earth remained, a looming shadow that threatened to engulf Zoe's homeworld. "We can't keep running forever," Zoe murmured, her fingers dancing over the ship's controls. It's time we faced this head-on. The ship's presence in her mind stirred with agreement, projecting a sense of readiness and determination that matched her own. Together, they had grown far beyond what either of them had been when their journey began. Now it was time to put their newfound abilities to the ultimate test. With a thought, Zoe accessed the vast repository of knowledge they had accumulated. Star charts, tactical data, and intelligence gathered from their various encounters flowed through her consciousness. A plan began to form, audacious in its scope, but not impossible. Not for them. "All right," Zoe said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "Let's go save Earth." The fist of Zarkon's engines flared to life, propelling them faster than light itself towards their destiny. Meanwhile, in the space near Earth, the Zarkonian armada hung like a swarm of predators circling their prey. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, his 4 eyes narrowed as he surveyed the blue-green planet below. "Status report," he barked, his mandibles clicking with impatience. Sub-Commander Zalreen approached, his posture submissive. "The humans remain unaware of our presence, Admiral. Our cloaking technology continues to function perfectly. However," he hesitated, his antennae twitching nervously. Vexthor's eyes swiveled to fix on his subordinate. "However," Zalreen swallowed hard. "We've detected anomalies, sir. Disturbances in subspace that match the signature of the Fist of Zarkon. It appears to be approaching rapidly." A low hiss escaped Vexthor's throat. "So the human child returns. Prepare all ships for battle. This time, we will not underestimate her." As the Zarkonian fleet sprang into action, alarms began to blare across Earth's military installations. Despite the aliens' advanced cloaking technology, the approaching energy signature of the Fist of Zarkon was impossible to miss. In the Pentagon's Central Command, General Sandra Hayes stared at the holographic display with a mixture of fear and determination. "What in God's name is that?" she demanded. A young lieutenant, his face pale, responded, "Unknown, ma'am. It's putting out more energy than anything we've ever seen, and it's headed straight for us." Hayes' jaw set in a hard line. "Alert all commands. Whatever's coming, we'll face it head-on." As Earth's military scrambled to respond to the unknown threat, the Fist of Zarkon dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Zoe took a deep breath, centering herself as she surveyed the tactical display. The Zarkonian fleet was massive, far larger than she had anticipated. Hundreds of warships hung in high orbit around Earth, their weapons primed and ready. For a moment, doubt crept into Zoe's mind. How could she possibly hope to defeat such an overwhelming force? But then she felt the ship's presence in her mind, steadfast and unwavering. They had faced impossible odds before and triumphed. This would be no different. "Okay," Zoe said, her voice steady. "Let's introduce ourselves." With a thought, she activated the Fist of Zarkon's newly enhanced communications array. Her message boomed across every frequency, impossible for either the Zarkonians or Earth to ignore. "Attention Zarkonian fleet and people of Earth. This is Zoe Chen, pilot of the Fist of Zarkon. To the Zarkonians, your invasion ends now. To Earth, help is coming. Stand ready." On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Vexthor's mandibles clacked in fury. "Impudent child. All ships, open fire." The space around Earth lit up as hundreds of Zarkonian vessels unleashed a barrage of energy weapons. But Zoe was ready. The Fist of Zarkon moved with impossible grace, its newly upgraded systems allowing it to dance between the incoming fire as if it were standing still. "Our turn," Zoe grinned, her hands flying over the controls. The Fist of Zarkon's weapons came to life, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of returning fire, the ship began to emit pulses of exotic energy. Where these pulses touched the Zarkonian ships, strange things began to happen. Weapons systems malfunctioned, engines sputtered and died, and in some cases, entire ships simply phased out of normal space, trapped in bubbles of warped reality. "What's happening?" Vex Thor roared, watching in horror as his fleet fell into chaos around him. Zoe's voice came over the comms again, calm and almost pitying. "I've had time to study your technology, Admiral, to improve upon it. Your ships are impressive, but they're nothing compared to what the Fist of Zarkon has become." As if to emphasize her point, the Fist of Zarkon suddenly split into multiple copies of itself, each one engaging a different section of the Zarkonian fleet. It was impossible to tell which was the real ship and which were projections, as each seemed equally capable of disrupting the alien vessels. On Earth, General Hayes watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Are we seeing this right?" she whispered. "One ship is taking on an entire alien armada, and winning." The young lieutenant nodded, his eyes wide. "Yes, Mom. And according to the transmission, it's being piloted by a human." Hayes shook her head, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Well, I'll be damned. Looks like humanity's got a champion out there after all." As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Zarkonians were fighting a losing battle. Ship after ship fell silent or retreated, unable to cope with the Fist of Zarkon's impossible abilities. Finally, only Admiral Vex Thor's flagship remained, its weapons blazing in futile defiance. Zoe guided the Fist of Zarkon in close, easily evading the desperate barrage. "It's over, Admiral," she broadcast. "Surrender now, and we can end this without further bloodshed." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, Vex Thor's voice came over the comms, heavy with defeat. We surrender. The Zarkonian Empire yields to Earth and its champion." A cheer went up from Earth's military command centers as the news spread. Humanity had faced its first extraterrestrial threat, and against all odds, emerged victorious. As the Zarkonian ships began to retreat, Zoe guided the Fist of Zarkon into a low orbit around Earth. For the first time in weeks, she saw her home planet with her own eyes, blue and beautiful against the backdrop of space. "We did it," she whispered, tears of joy and relief streaming down her face. "We really did it." The ship's presence in her mind radiated warmth and satisfaction. They had indeed done it together. But as the adrenaline of battle faded, Zoe realized that this was just the beginning. Earth now knew it wasn't alone in the universe. The Zarkonians had been defeated, but there were countless other civilizations out there, some potentially friendly, others perhaps not. And at the center of it all was Zoe Chen, a teenage girl from Earth who now commanded the most powerful ship in the known galaxy. As if sensing her thoughts, the Fist of Zarkon's AI projected a series of images into her mind. Star systems yet unexplored, civilizations waiting to be contacted, mysteries of the universe waiting to be unraveled. Zoe smiled, feeling a surge of excitement for the adventures that lay ahead. "What do you say, partner? Ready for our next mission?" The ship's eagerness matched her own. Together, the unlikely duo of a human girl and an alien AI prepared to embark on their greatest journey yet, as protectors of Earth and explorers of the infinite cosmos. As the Fist of Zarkon turned its gaze to the stars once more, Zoe couldn't help but marvel at how far she had come. From a curious teenager on a school trip to the defender of Earth and pilot of the most advanced ship in the galaxy, it was a transformation beyond her wildest dreams. But one thing was certain. Whatever challenges the universe had in store, Zoe Chen and the Fist of Zarkon would face them together, ready to turn the tides of fate once more.